So what happens if you try and live your life without an alarm clock? Well, I tried it and it didn't go well.
We have missed the train.
Wahoo!
Make it make sense.
I'm sorry for all the meetings I'm about to miss. And if you're my boss, no I didn't. Everything's fine, don't fire me. Thank you to Mel Science for sponsoring a portion of this video. So I hate alarm clocks. In fact, I don't know anyone who has a strong preference towards alarm clocks. But if you do, please get help. What is wrong with you? I've been thinking about alarm clocks recently because it's the first sound that I hear every day and it's a pretty influential one. I mean, I just played the iPhone alarm for you and for a lot of people, that is gonna have a strong negative reaction. And I hate that sound, but it seems like something that no one can live without. Or can we? So my question is, why does it be like that? Does it have to be like that? And if it doesn't, how else can it be like? So I started reading about sleep and its relationship to society, and I discovered something interesting about our current sleep habits and how they came to be. It turns out that the notion of a good night's sleep is more of a symptom of industrial capitalism than it is a natural way of life. In his book, Mathew Wolf-Meyer explores how sleep was organized and crammed into the night.
What is a good night's sleep is weirdly a kind of controversial question. That 8 hours of nightly sleep is really structured around our school days and our work days. So in order to do all of the things that we need to do as productive members of society, right, we organize our sleep so that it's consolidated at night. With the industrial workday, there's a real demand on shaping our experience of sleep to meet those industrial needs.
So it turns out that industrial capitalism fundamentally changed the way we organize our sleep. While previously our sleep needs were fulfilled through a series of naps and longer chunks of sleep at night, the Industrial Revolution meant that workers had to work from dawn to dusk, optimizing for daylight. This meant that our sleep was crammed into an uninterrupted period at night. We would work and fulfill our responsibilities in the day and arrive exhausted to our beds at dusk. While improvements in workers' rights have given us the 9 to 5, our sleep habits remain an artifact of that reorganization. That brings us to our experiment. I'm going to try and live my life without alarm clocks. Basically, I'm going to try and police my sleep as little as possible. I'm going to let my body just straight vibe, live its best life, go to sleep for as long as it wants, wake up when it wants, and see what happens. Unfortunately, I do have a part-time job and other responsibilities that I can't ignore, which means I probably won't be able to nap in the day, but I think that not using alarms is a pretty good step in not policing my sleep. So I think this week is gonna go pretty decently. I think that basically I'm gonna have some days where I'm gonna miss stuff and that's gonna be stressful, but generally I'm gonna get really good sleep and I'm not gonna be tired, which will be really nice. And hopefully that'll just reduce my stress in general. And yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a great week. So let's see what happens.
Hello. It is currently 5 a.m. and I have been awake multiple times throughout the night because I'm worried that I'm going to oversleep. So I am sleeping really badly because I'm allowed to sleep for as long as I want. Make it make sense. It's currently 10:47. I'm just woken up. I've missed many things, amongst which was an Apple appointment to fix my phone. That took me a week to book. I have 13 minutes before I have to be in a meeting. This is going to be a long week.
Hello, it's 8:30 in the morning. I slept like a baby, and I woke up naturally, and I missed nothing. This is so good! Wahoo!
I feel like Casey Neistat. I am going to London today. I'm going to be taking this book. It's called The Politics of Sleep. It was written by a lecturer at the university that I just graduated from. So I'm hoping to learn a little bit more about what happens when you don't police your sleep, or something like that. I don't really know yet. I'm gonna read the book first. All right, I gotta catch my train now, so I'm gonna go. Bye. Today, I'm gonna be sleeping on this couch right here, thanks to my friend, Mr. Ali Abdal, who is very out of focus.
I think you mean Dr. Ali Abdal.
Yeah, Dr. Ali Abdal. Tomorrow we are going to a YouTube thing. We have to take the train very early, so potentially we're gonna miss a bunch of stuff tomorrow. So I've roped Ali Abdal into this. for one day only. Yeah.
Morning. We have missed the train, but I don't think we're gonna miss anything too important. Nice.
Welcome to the hotel room. It is a hotel room. I am now at the aforementioned YouTube event. I am going to sleep in this bed. But what I'm truly finding out about this challenge is it's really not as fun as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to have a great week of sleeping in, and now what I'm realizing is it has been a week of terrible sleep because I'm worried about missing stuff.
It's dark, but my phone is telling me that it is 8, which is good because I haven't missed anything, but I feel very tired even though I slept at about 1, so I got a good 7 hours of sleep, but I am just exhausted. I think a lot of these worries about, waking up on time and things like that, they're all sort of a symptom of, there's a structural process that's also policing my sleep. I have all of these consequences that come with missing a bunch of stuff because they're scheduled in a way that isn't sort of friendly to everyone's natural body rhythm.
Hello. So, contrary to popular belief and also what I thought was going to happen, I do need to wake up early tomorrow. But I feel more comfortable, and I have actually been waking up naturally at appropriate times, which I didn't usually do, and I feel better about it.
Hello, it's super bright, and I woke up in a panic. Turns out, it's 9 a.m, and I missed my train.
This is a very inside moment, I think. Still wrong. Okay, so this challenge just became Taha gets stressed over his own sleep for a week. The challenge. I thought I was going to be sleeping like a baby every night and missing a couple of things in the morning, but it would be fine because I'd be so well rested. What ended up actually happening is that I ended up waking up multiple times a night to check my phone and check what the time was, because I really didn't want to oversleep. It meant that throughout the challenge, I got way worse sleep than when I used alarm clocks. The same factors that made me use an alarm clock in the first place, i.e. my workday and obligations to employment and other things, were the same factors that were keeping me up at night when I wasn't using an alarm clock. It was the fear and consequences of missing stuff and not being punctual or missing an important meeting that really screwed up the experiment for me. The alarm clock was basically emblematic of how much of my sleep was actually policed by wider societal pressures. Okay, but it's not all bad, because when I talked to an expert about sleep and told them about my experiment, it turns out that I was on the right track. There's a similar experiment that's sometimes used in sleep clinics. But before we talk about that, let's talk about this video sponsor, Mel Science. Mel Science is a subscription service that offers monthly science boxes that have little experiments in them. I've actually set up one right here, and I'm going to try to do it in the middle of this ad read, which is going to be exciting. The reason I'm excited to work with Mel Science is because they're breaking the stereotype that science has to be boring, difficult, and only accessible to certain types of people. Their monthly subscription boxes make science interesting, interactive, and accessible, because science is all about exploration and discovery, and it's all about getting people to ask questions, something that comes naturally to kids. Their subscription boxes are designed to nurture kids' natural curiosity, and they do that through interesting, engaging experiments with serious and detailed explanations of what's going on and the science behind it, combined with AR and VR technologies to dive deeper. The Mel Physics boxes include 18 sets of exciting experiments, with 2 to 3 of them arriving at your doorstep every month. When I was a kid, there was a science festival every year in the city centre, and me and my dad and my siblings used to go and do all of the interactive experiments. And to this day, it's one of the funnest ways to learn science, and these little experiments remind me of that experience and kind of make me feel like a kid again. So I'm kind of excited to actually do this experiment, which I'm going to try and do right now. I'll read the little booklet. Ooh, look at that. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Wait, you're going to miss it. So I got so distracted by the experiment that I forgot to finish the ad read. So follow the link in the description and use code ANSWER50 for 50% off your first box of any of the monthly subscriptions. That's half price on your first box if you use code ANSWER50. Thanks again to Mel Science for sponsoring this segment of the video, and now back to the rest of the video. While my experiment was a disaster in terms of not trying to police my sleep, turns out I wasn't that far off.
You know, one of the experiments that they sometimes ask people in sleep clinics to do is to just live without an alarm clock for 2 weeks and keep track of how you're sleeping. You kind of have to do it over vacation so that you have no work or school obligations, and then you can see like how much sleep do you actually want to get.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like, you know, I tried to do the experiment while trying to live my normal life, and it was a complete disaster because, you know, I would be going to sleep and, you know, I'd be exhausted when I was going to sleep, and then I would sort of come out of a slumber in a panic, and now I'm late for everything.
The way to actually pull it off, right, is to first kind of come to understand how you would sleep. You know, how would you sleep in a 24-hour period and over the course of a week if you could just sleep the way that you wanted to sleep? And then once you've got that schedule, then figure out when you could schedule everything else so that you were waking up without the alarm clock with enough time in order to do the things that you needed to do, right?
Yeah, I think that's the reason why my experiment really failed, was I didn't really get any data of what it'd be like to sleep as naturally. All I got was the constraints of my life interrupting my sleep. And it turns out, you know, now that I'm using my alarm clock again, the constraints of my life have always been interrupting my sleep. And so yeah, it's been a really sort of revelatory experience. But I think there are even more ways that our sleep has been affected by our work culture. If we look at how sleep is talked about nowadays, like the glamorization of sleep is so common. I mean, I see it all of the time in terms of these hustle culture posts, and especially when I was at university, people would talk about how little sleep they've got because they were up working on essays or revising for exams. It seems like famous leaders and CEOs are always glamorized about how little sleep they've got. They're always grinding and on this Sigma grindset, go, 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 you know, never grind, don't stop, get it done, hustle. You know what I mean?
Like you're saying, there's both a tendency to kind of think about people's lack of sleep and ability to short themselves on sleep in order to get stuff done is something that's kind of admirable, right? And there's a long list of historical figures, not just Margaret Thatcher, who talk about their lack of sleep, right?
However, poor sleep is also given the opposite association for service workers and factory workers. Yawning or appearing tired in front of customers is seen as rude and unwelcoming, and driving or working in warehouses while tired can be seen as irresponsible and dangerous. And in some cases, it can make you liable in the same way that drinking and driving can.
So, you know, the other parallel you can think about are like truck drivers. And similarly, there are kinds of messages from their employers that are like, you need to get enough sleep, you know, your decision making is impaired if you're not sleeping well. And yet, you know, they're paid in order to make deliveries as quickly as they can possibly do it. In some states in the US, there are what are called drowsy driving laws. A lot like drunk driving laws, if you're pulled over and you're impaired because of lack of sleep, there are penalties associated. In some cases, they can be even more strict than drunk driving.
But it seems like the pandemic and remote work has really woken people up to how valuable sleep and napping is. During the pandemic, so much of the conversation around sleep and work was about how nice it was to be able to work from home, nap in the middle of the workday, and generally be more attentive to people's sleep needs. And it seems like in the post-pandemic world, there's been a lot of resistance to returning back to the office. Perhaps one of the reasons is the really unfriendly sleep schedules that don't allow for naps or sleep that reflects our body clocks.
I will be interested in the context of the like post-pandemic world to see how much employees advocate for more ability to sleep in relationship to work, right? So whether it's flexible work hours so that they can sleep in every once in a while, or the ability to take naps at work. There is way more attention to sleep in the course of the pandemic than there has been for a while. Like, the interruption has allowed people to really think about what they need.
Are you hopeful of this new sort of post-pandemic sleep revolution, or this napping revolution that we're potentially able to have?
Am I hopeful about the post-pandemic sleep revolution? I in a very tempered way, I think. It will kind of exacerbate already existing inequities, right? That there will be people who will be able to have more flexible schedules and be able to take naps and that kind of thing. And then there will be everybody else who doesn't have the same access, right? There really needs to be like broad social support for it, right? That's where my hope is really tempered, right? Where it's like, capitalists are still capitalists at the end of the day. So unless they can really be convinced that it's going to make them more money in one way or another, it's just not going to happen.
Okay, so turns out that we live in a society. Who knew? And the way that society is structured isn't very friendly to our natural sleep needs. It's actually quite brutal. I mean, the afternoon slump is very real, and if we had flexible work hours and the ability to nap, we wouldn't have such a grueling workday. It kind of seems impossible to talk about structuring our lives in a way that is friendly to sleep without talking about our work lives. And while it seems like in the past, many of the structural factors that kept us in these grueling work days couldn't really be changed, but due to the pandemic, remote work, and workers' rights, it seems like that could be changing. We could be at the cusp of a napping revolution where workers are allowed to nap during the workday and have more flexible work hours that fit with their health and sleep needs. But at the same time, whenever there's a technological advancement in the world of work to make us more productive, that productivity is immediately used to increase our output. While remote work technologies could make our work lives better by encouraging napping during the workday and generally having a more flexible work life, they could also make them worse. With the ability to work from anywhere, it could also mean that we work from everywhere and all of the time. We could have our work lives spill out into the rest of our whole life, and that's something we're in danger of doing if we don't really have these conversations around work, sleep, and health. To be honest, I really didn't think this is where the video would end up, but here we are. As people start to return to work, I think it's important to have conversations around what we want our work lives to look like, particularly how it affects our sleep. While I'm hopeful that some people will see work lives that are kinder to their sleep, I'm also not optimistic that that will trickle down to everyone. I think we might be seeing a napping revolution for some people who can work remotely and are at companies that are receptive to that. However, there's going to be so many people who have service jobs or have jobs that require you to work unfriendly hours. I think it's important for us to talk about sleep when we have conversations around work. But who knows? I'm just a dude making a YouTube video. I did some research, I chatted to an expert, and I slept terribly for a week. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you like this type of video, you can check out the playlist on screen right now. We also have a free newsletter with bonuses and a Patreon where you can support us. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time.